Good morning, everybody. Welcome to TED Talks Ball. Got a Friday morning edition. Excited to welcome Anshul Shah of the Shah Show. You can find him on YouTube at the Shah Show, and then is that your handle on Twitter now too? Are you the
Yep.
Shah Show on both now? Okay,
Yep.
cool. As I said, it looked like I'd forgotten something. I did forget a space. So let me fix that. Hide it and edit it. Oh, this has not been a good morning for technicalities. I forgot to send Anshul the link right away, and then right when I went to go live here on the show, my computer decided to reboot, and now I just noticed like my face is taking up the whole screen. I need to
No
zoom
worries.
out. So give me a second while I find my cam settings. Let's see. There we go. Camera settings. And I have a feeling at some point that'll revert back because I never switched the settings. But there we go. And whoop. Hey, there we go. A little more normal.
Yeah, I guess once in a while
Good.
technology always ends up just randomly settings get changed.
Yeah, it's wild. Bash calls me Technical Ted. I guess technically it was Laura Cat who came up with that nickname for me because I tend to be very technical in my analysis. But like when it comes to actual computer technology and software, yeah, I'm the worst. It helps me a lot to have somebody walk me through how to do things. I mean, I'm finally just starting to get my thumbnail game. I mean, it's still not there, but I'm improving. I don't know. Did you use the one I sent you, the one that I used?
I actually haven't put up a thumbnail yet because I'm probably gonna make my own there,
There
but
you go. I'm sure you can do a better job, Anshul, than me. But anyway, it's something I'm working on and striving to get better on. Real quick, just want to call out Bryant Culp. Was here early, a minute early before we were supposed to start. Say morning, Ted and Shaw Show. Saying what's up, faithful. Everyone, make sure you check out Bryant's channel. He does great work over there, growing rapidly and with good reason. Doing good stuff with McNiner, with Aaron from 49ers First Takes, who also does First and Ted with me on a weekly basis. And then I think they also have Ty Alston on a Monday weekly show that they're doing. Got Bebop Jones in the house coming to us from the Philly area. Hello. I guess that's his British accent. And he's just saying BC O'Brien. So Anshul, obviously lots of oh, wait, let me get your banner going again here. I fixed it, but I didn't put it back up. More technicalities. Tell you, it's just one thing after another for me this morning. I swear we'll get it going eventually.
it's all right.
But obviously, football's back. Training camp is back. We had 2 open practices the last 2 days, and then today there is a practice. Unfortunately, only media allowed today, and then tomorrow's a day off, and then they'll go 3 straight days of open practices: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'll be at all those. I'll also be at Thursday and Friday, and I'm trying to score tickets. I didn't think the 5th was going to be available. I thought my wife had the shower and I was going to have to watch my son, but that's Sunday, and our childcare is able to help, so I will be there Sunday. So now I'm on the hunt for Saturday the 5th and Monday the 7th tickets. They're still pretty expensive on like StubHub or whatever. So trying to
And I
find some
guess
for a
one of
reasonable
those
price.
are the Dwight Clark Day too, right?
So that'll be extra expensive. Yeah, they're around. The tickets I've seen are around $150 a
Yeah.
pop for Saturday, and more like $70-$80
Wow.
for Monday. But all that's a lot to pay for a $10 ticket.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. I mean, they really should have raised the ticket prices to cut down on some of the scalping that's going on. But that's neither here nor there. Maybe they'll figure it out for next season. But Anshul, how you doing? What do you got going on? Anything I may have missed in my update for you? Feel free to promote anything. I know you're doing a lot of Warrior stuff lately.
Yep.
But plug all your stuff now and remind me at the end. We'll do it at the end of the show too.
Yeah, so you guys can go find me at the Shaw Show on Twitter, and then the Shaw Show Pod actually on YouTube right now. Just kind of doing recaps of the training camp. I did do actually a show with Brandon from the Forever Fitful podcast a few days back.
Brandon Frigno, he's great. Love him.
Yeah, and so I'm loving what I'm actually doing, because just doing small videos with the updates. So I highly recommend, if you guys haven't subscribe. I'd appreciate it as well. If anybody's coming from my channel, make sure you guys go subscribe to Ted.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody and anyone watching on TED Talks Ball, make sure you pop over to Anshul and give him a like and subscribe. And actually, I figured this out recently. Pardon me. Shoot. If you're on a browser, open up two windows and watch it both at the same time, and that way we both get the views and the watch hours and the likes and everything. And it's barely any more effort on your behalf. So like, not only like some people like to switch back and forth, but like, watch on both at the same time. And that really helps us both. Also, I will try and show all the comments though, so that if people are in the different ones, they don't feel like they're missing out. So even stuff where people, normally I don't show them, people are just saying hi to each other. But like, for instance, David McNiner's in your channel, so he might not see that. So welcome, David McNiner. Glad to have you. David. Let's effing go 49ers. Woo! Yeah, football's back. So excited. So awesome being at training camp the last couple days. I was there Wednesday and Thursday. I ran into Raj from RSF 49ers. He sat next to me both days. Rohan and Brad Graham were both there both days. And then Brian Rennick was there yesterday. So there's some pictures floating around. In fact, the one I used for my thumbnail for the show today, you can see us on the back row. And we had a lot of fun. I think we even ended up in a 49ers TikTok. I'm sure there's plenty of videos where we ended up, and it just gives five big guys standing up on the back of the row there. Or at least Brad Graham and I are real big guys, and Brian Rennick's pretty good size. Rohan's tall and thinner, and obviously Raj, little guy, but man, big presence. Love Raj, and really made my day to be able to spend so much time with him and get to know him a little bit better after having him on the show a few times and then having me on his show a few times. That was one of the things I was really looking forward to with training camp, in addition to obviously getting to watch everything and keep my own statistics, because, people will say that it's like, some people are biased towards Purdy or some people are biased towards Lance or whatever. But a lot of it is just very subjective, and it happens very fast. They switch off a lot very quickly. And it's like, oh, the guy holds the ball for a long time. Is that a sack? I don't know. It probably is in a game, but then they let him keep playing, and then it turns into a completion. How do you categorize that and whatnot? And it's a lot to keep track of. Who is the intended receiver? Who broke it up, or who got beat? All that good stuff. So let me get through here. McNiner saying, let's go. Bryant Culp was saying, once again, Shaw Show. Couldn't get a Wednesday show, but seeing you with Brandon, good show. Nice. Yeah. It's a great channel that we're all in with a lot of content creators, and we all help each other out and bounce ideas off one another. And, it's a great community, and it's great to see everybody supporting each other. There's some people that try to kind of hide the knowledge or, don't pass it along. But most of the people are really cool and friendly and, been really helpful for me just being pretty new to this community. I've noticed a lot of great help. And so I just want to say thanks to all the great 49ers content creators who have helped me. Also, some of them helped me to get tickets for training camp. I got 4 through my buddy's code for his, he's his season ticket holder. And I thought I'd be able to get all 9 days with that code, but it malfunctioned a few times. And then a couple days later, I got 2 at first and 2 a few days before the public offering. And I figured, I'll get a few at the public offering. Nothing. So many people had that experience. And then a couple of content creators helped me out with my other 3 tickets. So again, thanks to everybody for all the help. I gave them a little bit more than the $10. I think it was $20 each for those, but a lot less than what market rates are going for. Like I said, between like $70 and $1.50 for the weekdays and weekends remaining. But but Anshul, I would love to get your thoughts or questions if you have questions for me about what I saw. But things that you wanted to know coming into camp, things you've heard, what anything along those lines.
Yeah, so I mean, the number one thing I heard from day one was that Jair Brown was the first guy out. So I
He
really like to
was.
see that because that's like Hufanga given, basically passing it all over. Hufanga's definitely gonna have to be that leader, I think, especially in the secondary, along with, of course, Deshaun Gibson as well. But with no Jimmy Ward there, and some of the new guys in the secondary, I think that's gonna be really key for Hufanga. But I'm also interested to see how he improves because he definitely had some times, where it was blown coverage by him. But just really excited to see that Jair Brown was the first guy out there. He's definitely someone, I know he probably won't play a lot, but when Steve Wilkes decides to go with the three-set safety look, he will be out there. So, um, definitely still someone to watch for, even if he may not be playing too much. And of course, I know Bryant Colpson there. We can't go without mentioning the kicking with Jake Moody. I saw some of his
Moody.
stats yesterday, and
Moody sighting yesterday. Yep.
yeah, I was happy to see that. I believe he hit one from 44, 50, 25, and I think like a 30-yarder, if I'm not mistaken. At least from what I saw on Twitter. I'm sure you can confirm that, Ted, as you were there.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him make like a low 30s, mid 30s, low 40s, three in a row. And then I think he made one from 50-ish later on, and Gonzalez made one in the middle, in like the mid 40s maybe. And that's sort of how it went. It was like early 30s, mid 30s, early 40s, Gonzalez mid 40s, and then Moody capped it off like 51, 53, I don't know, somewhere in that range. And he had plenty of leg on all of them. And I felt like there were some where he took something off of it to keep from booting it right over the practice fence out onto the street there. So, Moody looked good. Jair Brown was out first on Wednesday. Huff was out second on Wednesday. Then Huff was out first on Thursday. And Jair Brown, yes, he's played and he'll play in the three safety packages. But we did play a lot of base, which is just, the two safeties, two corners, and three linebackers. But Jair Brown did play a little bit of nickel along with Quantrez Knight backing up Isaiah Oliver. So a lot of us had thought Womack might be in the mix for that, but so far Womack has played all boundary corner, and he basically it was the number one corner for the number two team, right? For the second team, he's number one, and then you got Ambry Thomas and who am I blanking on there?
Charvarius Ward, who probably
Charvarius Ward and Lenore are 1 and 2, and then Womack is 3, and Ambry Thomas and
there's Darrell Luter Jr., but I know he's.
But Darrell Luter is not playing. Darrell Luter, I saw him day one. He came out. He was actually out there before Jair Brown stretching, and but they don't count him first player out because he wasn't dressed.
Mm-hmm.
But he had one of those, fitness tracker. I'll call it a vest.
It's a bra,
sports bra. But yeah, we saw him early day one. Yeah, he hyperextended his knee and has a bone bruise, but it doesn't look serious. We didn't see any limp or anything like that, so that was a really good sign. No, I think it's the Hartsfeld. Miles Hartsfeld is the other. Oh no, you know who it was? We haven't seen much of Hartsfeld. It was the one from Texas.
From Texas, yeah.
Yes,
the
Jameson.
Yes.
Jameson. Yeah, so that's who it was. Jameson and Ambry were on the other side of essentially Womack. So Womack looks like the clear outside corner 3, boundary corner 3, and then Jameson. Yeah, so Hartsfeld we haven't really seen much of. I think he might just be more special teams, and he might just be more of a player coach for camp, and maybe he'll end up on the practice squad or something. I don't know. We'll see. But it's still early yet too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so for secondary, I mean, the whole defense has looked really good, um, especially without Bosa being there. I mean, that's the part that really, makes you wonder how good if this is going to be like an 85 Bears D situation when Bosa gets back, because Kinlaw's playing well. Obviously, Hargrave is a monster. Eric Armstead, we know he's very solid, and he gets paid a lot. Probably not as good as what he gets paid, but he got paid a lot for a reason. He's good. And then Drake Jackson is starting to flash, and Cleveland Farrell's playing well. And so yeah, this defense is doing great. I mean, that's why I titled my title for the show was "The 49ers defense will destroy you without your first team weapons." Because I tweeted something out today. I was like, isn't it funny that, all our quarterbacks are struggling and Kittle and CMC have barely played. And it's like, but the Lance haters want to tell us, oh, it's no big deal. The Lance didn't have them. It's like, no, it's a big deal. Not only because they're like conservatively top 3 at their position, right? I mean, honestly, I think they're top 1. People will say Kelsey, but I say if you put Kittle on the Chiefs, he'd do everything Kelsey does.
Yeah.
Plus block and better yak. But conservatively, we'll just say top 3 at their positions, Kittle and CMC. And it's not just how good they are. It's what a huge drop-off it is to everyone else. Like Charlie Warner, I don't think he has a catch in the offseason. I think he's 0 for 2 on targets. He dropped them both. Dwelly, I think he's on the bubble. I think Warner will probably still make it because of his blocking. But Dwelly, I think, could very well be gone. And then with the running backs, obviously we have Elijah Mitchell. He looked really great yesterday, really explosive. TDP looked really great on Wednesday. But neither of them, well, Elijah Mitchell was injured almost all of 2022. He had one start and only played in 5 games.
Yeah, because, I mean, he kept battling the MCLs on both days.
First is right, then is left, or whether it's first is left, then is right. But I guess I know the first one was his left, because I remember the guy came from his right and took out his left knee, looking, because there was a great angle of it looking back at the quarterback as it happened. So yeah, it must have been first his left and his right. And he wasn't back for long in between, unfortunately. But then after that, you had JP Mason, who we all think highly of, but really, Kyle didn't trust him as a rookie, and TDP really underwhelmed in his rookie season, especially for a 3rd-round pick, but just underwhelmed as a 49er running back in general. So that's the big thing. It's not just how good CMC and Kittle are; it's how much of a drop off it is to the next man up. And I think and I think it's smart what they're doing. I mean, as much as I want to see Lance with CMC and Kittle, because we've never seen Lance with CMC, and we've barely seen him with Kittle. These guys have had injury histories, and like I said, it's still a case where we don't really know if we have somebody that we can rely on with a lot of talent behind them. Whereas at least with like Debo at wide receiver, who's had some injury issues himself, like we've got Ayuk, we've got Jennings, and we've got some other good-looking wide receivers behind there. Ray has done some good things, and people like at least the idea of Ronnie Bell. We'll see how he works out. Tay Martin, Willie Snead, Chris Conley. Chris Conley had a couple nice catches yesterday, at least one really nice one that I remember. So so I just thought it was kind of interesting that Kittle and CMC had barely practiced, quarterback struggling. Our defense, people, I think, I've been saying all along, like, that I kind of don't trust Kyle to evaluate quarterbacks anymore.
No.
Because of passing on Mahomes for Cousins and then not getting Cousins, and passing on Brady to keep Jimmy after we lost the Super Bowl, and Brady wanted to come retire here. He wanted to come here instead of going to Bucs.
It seemed it was a little bit more of a John Lynch thing too, though, with the Brady thing. So
I think it was Kyle didn't want to butt heads with him. I think Kyle's like, here's how I want to do things, and Brady's like, here's how I want to do things, and Kyle's just like, all right, well, go do that somewhere else. But yeah, it could be Lynch too. I mean, unless you're on the inside, which we are not, then we're on the outside, and we can only guess and hypothesize and say what makes sense. Mm-hmm. And yeah, certainly could have something to do with Lynch too, for sure. Then we didn't get Stafford. Thought that was another gaffe. I think keeping Jimmy as our bridge QB was a gaffe. I do think Lance needed a bridge. I think he was too raw to just pop in there,
Yeah.
week 1, 2021 as a starter. But I think like an Andy Dalton type might have been better, where we could have just flip flopped him in and out, swapped him in packages and really got Lance some experience gradually rather than like, sink or swim all at once type of thing. And then the thing I point to from last season was, if I think we can all agree that Brock Purdy was the best QB for the 49ers in 2022. We can make excuses for Lance about CMC and Kittle, but ultimately Purdy was the best. And if he was, then why was he QB3 to start the season? And I kind of have a hypothesis on that. I think it's that, our defense is so deep and our offense just really isn't. We have the best group of weapons in the NFL, but after that group, it's a pretty big drop off to Ray and Tay Martin, and Willie Snead and, some of these other guys, Dwelly, Warner, Tyler Croft, who we had last year. Thank goodness he's gone. And so I guess I'm giving Kyle a little bit of a pass on that, because like what we saw yesterday, that's what I'm thinking is like, these guys have no weapons. They're getting no separation. How do we expect them to be making completion? They have no time to throw. The right side, McKivitz is not holding up against Drake Jackson and Cleveland Farrell. So how do we expect Lance and Darnold and Allen to make completions? And a lot of the completions that Allen did make were just like little short dump offs and screens and stuff, little short outs. They weren't impressive throws by any stretch. Nothing that would like say, oh, this is the guy we can count on. Real quick, let's get to some of these comments. We got John Lynch is about to address the media. Oh man, I picked a bad time to do the show.
I think it's whatever when the Niners do that, like sometimes they'll kind of show the.
Do we want to try and put it on here and talk about it as it comes on? Any updates? 187's asking. I haven't heard any updates yet, but practice is just starting, so we should start getting updates on the timeline.
Yeah. I think if anything big happens, I'm sure one of the guys will end up tweeting it out. So
there you go. Let me see if I could even share screen. Oh, I'm so bad at this. This is another thing I'm not great at about how to present. But it says video file. I don't even know. Can you even share a live YouTube feed?
Yeah, so if you go to present and then share screen, you can either do it by choosing the tab that it's on or like selecting it by window or the entire thing.
Okay. Share screen is easiest with 2 monitors. Okay, so I can put it up over on my second screen.
Yeah. And then it should probably pop up kind of like when you have to add me to the stage. It should probably pop up something down below, and then you can basically add it.
Give me a second. I got to also refresh my history on that one. I didn't do it. I had to reboot my computer. Restore window.
He just said that. Beep Out Jones just said John Lynch just canceled.
Oh. Well, there we go. I don't have to worry about it. That makes life easier.
Yeah, but just my thoughts kind of from what you were saying, Ted. Like, I just
I went
think
on and
it's
on,
also
so
hard to stay in training camp. Obviously, the defense knows the offense, and the offense knows the defense. So you kind of expect it to be where the offense may not look as good. And also, I know you were mentioning about the offensive line. You really can't even evaluate the offensive line at this time just because there's no pads on. And so, there's some obviously good things you can take away as a whole from here, but I really like to think more about what's happening right when the pads come on, because that definitely I think reflects more of what we could possibly be seeing. So yeah,
absolutely. Offensive linemen, the first thing they do when they're blocking is they get a hold of the defensive lineman's pads right in their
Yeah.
armpits, and that's how they block them. And defensive linemen can do more things with their pads to evade as well too, and to get by offensive linemen. So yes, you can't tell too much before the pads come on. That is true. And Bebop was saying sorry. No, but it's good to tell us because, like I said, like I'd rather show the thing and Anshul and I give our thoughts on John Lynch's thing than like have everybody go and watch it. And we're just sitting here talking to ourselves with nobody here. So no, I appreciate knowing about things like that. So don't ever apologize, Bebop. We appreciate you keeping us informed. But yeah, and obviously, yeah, our offense typically is slow starting. We usually don't get rolling till a third of the way into the season. The
Yeah.
last two seasons, and then even more so now early in camp. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing to worry about. I mean, and here's the thing too, like McNiner's saying, thoughts on all the QBs getting reps. Uh, BCB had 10, Lance 5, 6 Cent Sam. I love it. He's got that going. 5, Allen 5. I think Kyle is planning for the worst and wants all 4 ready. Josh Johnson wasn't ready. And if you look at yesterday as a snapshot, then sure. But if you look at the first 2 days, Lance still has, I think, almost as many reps as Purdy,
Well, also
if not
that's gonna be
more.
the case because the thing is obviously Purdy's still coming back from that UCL, and it's
Right,
sounding like
right.
he's gonna be taken. Like
Yeah.
he'll take a day off and then end up doing the next 2 days and probably takes another day off. So you kind of expect it to be that way because you think Lance probably is the next guy, like the number one guy when
The
Purdy's.
one thing with that, though, is that the first rest day, Saturday, coincides with Purdy's rest day because that'll be, he'll have 2 practices, take a day off. That's the day everyone's off. So then he'll go 2 more practices, Sunday and Monday. And then, so the first time I would expect to see Lance getting first team reps again would be Tuesday. Tuesday the 1st, I guess that is, or 2nd, 1st, because Monday's the 31st. So it's going to turn out where there's probably only 2 more days in this whole thing where Lance gets first team reps if we stick to that schedule and if they're strict about it, which none of that is written in stone. I think it'll depend on how they play and everything. And I think with Brandon Allen, this might have been like, hey, show us something. We're going to give you a few reps here. Show us something. And if you do something good, then we'll keep giving you reps. And he did have a high completion percentage, but like I said, there were a lot of dump offs and like short outs and stuff. So I don't know if he did enough. I would be surprised if he keeps getting this many reps, I guess is just what I'm saying. I don't think it makes sense to have all these QB competitions. If anything, you usually have a QB competition for 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And all the rest, you just say you're 3, you're 4, blah, 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 blah. You usually don't have 2 guys competing for the QB2 job. This is an unusual situation. I get it. But I don't expect that to persist too much longer. I will say that even when Lance and Darnold split, like on Thursday, Lance was QB1, or Wednesday, Lance was QB1, Darnold was QB2, and Brandon Allen was QB3. And then while Darnold and Lance split on Thursday, Lance was still the first one to take second team reps. So to me, it still seems like Lance is in the lead, but I guess we'll see. Time will tell. I mean, honestly, I think Lance is going to end up competing with Purdy for the QB1 job. I think he's got these improved mechanics, and he hasn't played with CMC or Kittle, or barely played with Kittle. And, a lot of when he played, the team was struggling. And Purdy, I don't care what you say, I didn't see that his arm was totally back yesterday. And people are saying, oh, he overthrew the guy on the long route. Well, Jimmy overthrew Sanders in the Super Bowl, and he didn't have a strong arm. Sometimes people overthrow because they have a weak arm and they're compensating. They don't have any touch at those distances. All they can do is just throw it as hard as they can. And then that causes an overthrow. Whereas like people with stronger arms have more modulation and they can actually control it and drop it in the bucket in those longer distances. So, he threw. I had some video I caught of him throwing 35 yards, and just after that, he threw it 45 yards a couple times. But these are like loopers. These were just like high arcing throws. He threw a few throws sort of with zip, but I mean, there was nothing like what I saw last season yet on his hardest throws. I have not seen that yet, and I wouldn't expect to. And people were talking about that he didn't fully extend on the handoffs. I couldn't really see that myself or not, but people I trust are saying that, so I guess I'll roll with it. But I mean, when he got cleared, it was like, oh, he's ready to go, da, 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 da. And I'm like, no, he's ready to practice, folks.
Yeah.
He's not ready to play in a game, and there's like cleared to play, and then there's like cleared full go, and he is not cleared full go. And they say there's no restrictions, but they're restricting him to 2 out of 3 practices, so there's restrictions.
Yeah.
So I'm rooting for him. Just because I prefer Lance doesn't mean I don't like Purdy. I really like them both. I just like Lance a little better. And I want all our QBs to be healthy and ready to go as soon as possible. I just hope somehow Lance wins the job. And whoever wins the job, the other player, may get a chance to play just because of injuries. Because none of our 4 QBs has ever played a complete NFL season, and none of our 6 seasons of QBs other than 2019 has played a full season. So we got 2 sort of factors there telling me that we'll need more than probably one of these guys to step up and play. And I really hope it's just Purdy and Lance, though. I really don't want to see Darnold. But a lot of people believe in him. Kyle supposedly came out with that quote saying he sees Steve Young, and I'm just like, I don't know. What do you think about that, Anshul?
Yeah, it's just the media always says some weird things too. Like, it's whatever. Like he says about that. I mean, you're gonna hype up your players, obviously, like that. It is a little harsh, I'd say, to say that he's Steve Young, but obviously you're gonna back up your guys. But in terms of like how they're playing the court, between Purdy and Lance, yeah, I'm with you, Ted, too. I prefer Lance, but obviously if it's Purdy still gonna be the one starting, obviously gonna be still rooting for him. Um, but I just think also Lance needs the chance because knocking on wood, let's say another injury happens, like what are you gonna you haven't seen what Lance can really do in a game. And so like, especially you may be, internally, obviously John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are probably gonna be happy about it, but the fan base probably won't be, they'll have some question marks. So I definitely want to see Lance, playing, and I hope he gets a good amount in the preseason because it's not a knock on Trey Lance, but he has looked pretty good like in training camp, especially these last 2 years, and it's just we haven't seen it as much on the field, and that's just it's unfortunate too because Kyle Shanahan just hasn't really been playing him because again he was redshirted, and then unfortunately with the ankle injury last year when he was supposed to be the guy, and so it's just, yeah, I think I definitely want to see what Lance looks like in the preseason. So I'm hoping that they give him at least a good amount to be able to play to see what, we have in Trey Lance and how he's looking. Because he's definitely, I'd say, improved the mechanics. Like from the videos that I've been seeing people from posting, like people that are posting, you can tell that the release is quicker. People are saying the accuracy is looking better too. So, um, yeah, I definitely want to see what Trey Lance can do in a game, though.
Yeah, me too. Because that's the only way you're really going to know what we've got. Alec was saying Kyle loves to play the media. Absolutely, Kyle loves misdeception or misdirection, I should say, and deception in his messaging almost as much as he loves it on the field. And yeah, when I saw that tweet about Kyle saying that Sam Darnold, is reminds him of Steve Young or whatever he said that was ridiculous hyperbole. I just said, please tell me this is like a pump and dump, that we're trying to pump Darnold up so we
Yeah.
can trade him. because otherwise, I think this is ridiculous. Some people are saying, "Oh well, Sam Darnold's gonna be he's got talent. He's got talent." I'm like, well, QBs with talent don't take 3.5 mil guaranteed. Sorry,
Yeah.
but that just doesn't happen. And maybe I should say proven talent, and we'll see. Maybe Darnold will prove me wrong. I hope he does. I'd love nothing more than to have three really talented QBs that we could win with. But right now, I'm only convinced on two of them.
Yeah, I mean,
Alex
look at
said,
sorry,
"Go
real
ahead."
quick, like look at
Yeah, no,
Nate
take your time.
Sudfeld from last year, right? I think he was given a good amount of guaranteed, and then look what happened. He ended up getting cut because Purdy beat him out. So yeah, I don't care too much about the guaranteed, especially for a QB3 or even 4. So
No doubt about it. Alex says, I don't care who's week one starter. I just want the best QB at the end of the season, still healthy. Yeah, health is a huge
yeah,
thing, as I was mentioning earlier. And week one is one of those weird situations where winning the job might be losing. You might lose the game. It's possible that whoever plays, whether it's Purdy or Lance, I refuse to accept any other possibility at this point, so I'll leave it with them. But whoever it is going to be going up against TJ Watt and or Alex Highsmith coming around the edge that Colton McKivitz is blocking in his first ever NFL start at right tackle. So that's a hell of an assignment. TJ Watt is, I'm not going to say every bit as good as Nick Bosa, but general consensus would say that. I
I
think
think
most,
he's a top 3 edge rusher, I'd say.
yeah, I think most people will say TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, and Bosa are the three, and maybe Micah Parsons, but Micah isn't a dedicated edge, so it's a little hard to stick him.
Apparently, though, now
I
the
put him just a
Cowboys
fraction below them,
yeah, apparently now the Cowboys though are gonna be playing him more at D end.
which is smart. I mean, that's the most valuable position on the field. The only thing that makes sense is if you have another good D end and you don't have a good middle linebacker, then maybe it makes sense to put him off ball. I mean, he's the most versatile of those four,
Yeah,
and probably the fastest, Micah. But I refuse to call him the best edge until he plays a dedicated edge role, because I think it's tougher when you're going against the left tackle every play and probably a tight end or a wide receiver or back chipping or two. You were getting triple teamed. It's just much easier to account for an edge than some guy
yeah.
blitzing from up the middle. It's just harder to block that kind of player. Dynamite Dave in the house. As our founder believes everything Kyle says. Not this member of the fan base. I know
Not
that they
not the
can't be.
content creators, at least. I'd say.
Yeah, we know that he can't be honest all the time. It would be a huge disadvantage.
Yeah,
And there are certain times where like you said, you want to pump and dump. We tried to do it last offseason with Trey Sermon, where we said, oh, he's had one of the best off seasons of anybody. And then a week later, we cut him or released him or whatever you want to call it,
yeah. He
waived him.
made the roster, and then it's like, oh, the next day, actually, no, we're cutting.
Yeah. Whoops. Bye-bye. So, yeah, I mean, we were just trying to get something for him. So, and that happens. And that's what I said all along with all this Darnold has the edge malarkey, is that, if Schefter was reporting that, like the ESPN and people were not there at OTAs or minicamp. So if they're hearing it, if they're hearing a leak, and we don't leak. So, and Kyle, with the way leaks work is if it's like something, or, guesses that are out there in the media, if it's something that furthers his narrative or his wants and needs, and he'll let them run with it. If it's something that he doesn't think helps the team or what he wants to do, then he squashes it.
Yep.
He hasn't squashed it. So you don't pump up Darnold to trade Lance, folks. It's just kind of basic stuff. You pump up Darnold to trade Darnold. And people say, well, why would you trade somebody you just signed? Well, because we signed him for nothing. So any draft capital we get for him is found money. Even
Just like you always,
even a seventh or sixth round pick.
Yeah, just like you always listen to any of your guys. Like, you may not trade them. You never know what the value could be. So
yeah, and we've done it with a lot of guys off the street, whether it was Breida for a fifth or Jeff Wilson Jr. for a fifth. Coincidentally, both to the Dolphins, but they were both free to us, and then we got something in return back. Same idea. We could do that with Darnold. Maybe Brandon Allen. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think Brandon Allen's going to command that, but Darnold certainly could.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Um,
Yeah, but
what else
one
was
guy
we?
I've been hearing actually, which I'm really happy to hear, because I've kind of said that I still kind of wish we went out there and got another edge rusher. I'm not saying like needs to be a big name edge rusher, just like another depth piece. But from what I've been hearing, Austin Bryant has actually been looking really, really good in practice. So that at least makes me feel better. But man, Cleveland Farrell is someone I'm definitely excited to watch for this season.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Cleveland Thor's been doing well. Austin Bryant's been doing well. Austin Bryant has like really long, thin legs. Saying he looks kind of like Daddy Long Legs. He almost looks like DK Metcalf. He was hanging out after the practice with his shirt off, and he's rocked up, tall. But yeah, he looks more like a big wide receiver than a defensive end. Um, but yeah, he's got that fast first step, and he's got the fast 40 time. He could be like our D Ford light or whatever, if we want to say dollar store D Ford, if you will. So that's what the kind of hope is, to get that speed rush on the other side of Bosa. And it's so key because, the speed rusher comes in
Mhm.
and makes the quarterback step up, and then Bosa comes in and makes him step up again, and then you got Hargrave and Armstead and maybe Kinlaw there to like clean it up when they step up too far. That's what happened in 2019 a lot, and that's why our defensive line was so effective. So hopefully we can get back to something more like that
Or
in
Armstead.
2023. Steve Wilkes mentioned he's going to keep Armstead on the inside.
Yeah, I
Good.
saw that.
I'm
Yeah, I,
glad.
I get that he's like versatile and he could play edge, but I don't like it anyways. It's better that he's inside.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, Edge would only be in my liking on base downs. I
Mm.
wouldn't want to see him out there in nickel because he just can't keep. He's not fast enough to contain quarterbacks that have any kind of mobility. So, uh, Alex says, any news on how Kinlaw is looking? Yeah, Kinlaw was looking good yesterday.
I'm
Um,
gonna wait till I see him on the field because I feel like I've heard too much about Kinlaw's looking good. So
yeah, will it last? Who
yeah,
knows?
will
But
he be on the field? Like, what is
he
he
was
actually?
he wasn't bad on Wednesday, and he was pretty good on Thursday. I know Rohan had him as his best player on Thursday. Besides not named Brandon Ayuk, because Ayuk's been great. But yeah, Kinlaw's been good, and he's slimmed down. But that knee is going to always be a concern. I don't care how much
Yeah,
time he gets under his belt.
exactly.
But that's always going to be a worry for sure.
Has there any been
Um,
anything about the rookie Bradley, the
Beal,
Robert Beal Jr.?
Robert Beal Jr. And now I haven't seen much of him.
Okay.
I think he's been in there, late on third teams a little bit, but no, not a ton from him.
Yeah,
Nothing
he's
standing
definitely
out.
someone that's going to be intriguing. Like, obviously, they're going to have to develop him, but man, I remember like watching the film on him after we drafted him, and the dude is like fast.
Yeah, in
Long
fact, I
way.
noticed that Madden had a speed rating for Beal and for D Winters. I think they were like 89, and I think they give Beal a 90 because they're about the same speed, but because Beal's a more of an end, and Winters obviously is more of an inside linebacker.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both had really high ratings, and I was just sort of thinking to myself, interesting that they're giving these guys ratings, and like, are they even going to play much this season? Because I'm not expecting a lot of play time for any of them. Like, I know before camp, I was saying I thought Oren Burks would be the linebacker 3, and that's who's been lining it up there. And then, I think McCray Ball is ahead of any of those guys. And then Demetrius Flanagan Fowles has been around for a while. I think he's beatable. I think he could be tradable. If we talk about people that might get traded,
Hmm.
I think DFF might be one. He had a nice tip though. The throw from Lance that was to Jennings, DFF tipped it, and Womack almost picked it. That was Lance's almost pick from yesterday. Um,
I mean, also I remember like think it was maybe 2 years ago. We had the guy that we traded for to the Broncos, right? Like he was doing really well in camp, and so they knew we probably couldn't keep him on the practice squad, and he wasn't gonna be able to make the roster. So they were able to get like I think a sixth or seventh round draft pick for him. So definitely, if one of these guys are really showing up, like I really like DFF just because I kind of have a bit of a bias because he's the only guy that is on the 49ers that went to my school. But like yeah, they
Which
could
school is that?
Arizona.
Ah, Wildcat.
Yeah, so I mean, I could definitely though see
T-Town.
him being traded, especially if some of these other guys, if they're just not gonna have space. But has there been anything with the Graham kid that they drafted?
I haven't seen much of him,
Okay.
but I haven't been paying a ton of attention to the linebackers, to be honest with you. Jalen Graham. Um, yeah, I haven't seen much of him. There's a lot more talk of him with OTAs and minicamp than there has been in training camp. I would just say, like I said, I think he's pretty far back down the depth chart. I think it's going to be between him and D Winters to kind of get the last spot, and maybe, like I said, maybe one released and one traded or something like that. Because we got quite a few, and
Yeah,
obviously we
because I
have,
know we signed that other guy, but I think that was just basically to fill up a roster spot. So
yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, and that guy we signed, it's basically to fill Bosa's spot on the roster because
yeah,
Bosa's holding out, and he apparently was like the top linebacker in the XFL last year. So maybe he might do something too. I don't know. Um, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know a ton about him, but I just know that, like I said, he was a standout from the XFL. And Jonas Griffith was the one we were trying to think of
oh
that
yeah,
we
yeah,
traded away to
yeah.
the Denver Broncos. But yeah, linebacker is one of those stacked positions where we might trade somebody, even wide receiver, maybe too. And we'll see. We got
It's
quite a
like
few options
insane
there.
how many wide receivers they signed.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Braden Willis had some nice catches yesterday. He had the most catches of anybody yesterday. He had 4 catches.
I think I saw on
A
the
lot of them,
highlight tape too, like the
yeah, a lot of
number.
them were short. Latu was all right. Um, um, and Warner was bad.
Yeah, I think Latu, like obviously because he was a converted linebacker um at Alabama, so I obviously he was the higher draft pick, but I think Braden Willis is a little bit more there in terms of being a tight end. So I think Latu's the guy, he still obviously has some really good things that he can do, but he's I'd say more raw just because he hasn't played tight end. I think it's only been like 2 years since he started playing tight end. So
Yeah, he was a defensive end before that, or outside linebacker, essentially an edge player. Yeah, Dynamite. I hope Latu lives up to that third round billing. But so far, Braden Willis has looked every bit as good or better from what I've seen. So Dynamite Dave's, but again, it's pre-pads, so
yeah,
we can't read too much into it yet.
exactly.
Dynamite Dave says, "Hey Ted, how do people say we can't afford to start Lance? Lance starting, we'll fall behind with our record. Yet with Jimmy, we started 3-5 and 2-3 in 2021." Yeah, the reason why is because we had to go we started 3-5 in 2021, and we ended up 10-7. So we went 7-2 to finish up the season. And then last year we started 3-4 and we went 10-0 to end the season. And it's just like you just can't count on those streaks down the stretch. Also, a lot of people think the Eagles will be right there with us at the top of the NFC. I think the Cowboys will be too. I honestly think the Cowboys might be better than the Eagles. Um, and there are some reasons for that. I mean, one is we got Hargrave from the Eagles, and they're replacing him with an unproven rookie, and
I mean, and
they
they
lost
lost C.J.
all their
Gardner Johnson. Yeah,
who's a hell of a safety, and they got a decent Blankenship or whatever I think his name was. It's a decent rookie, but nothing like
they
C.J.
lost
Gardner
so many
Johnson.
coaches. They lost a few linebackers. I mean,
All their linebackers,
yeah,
all their inside linebackers gone, including T.J. Edwards, who's really good. And then they lost. They lost Shane Steichen, their offensive coordinator, and they lost their defensive Jonathan Gannon, their defensive coordinator. And the Eagles fans don't seem too worried about Gannon, but Steichen is a big loss. They also lost Suomalu, their right guard. They lost Miles Sanders, their running back. Their running back one at least. They got DeAndre Swift, so maybe that'll cover for that. But
but I mean, he
bottom
has
line is they got a lot of changes
so
on the Eagles, and I think that offensive coordinator one will be a big one. Whereas like the Cowboys, they added Brandon Cooks, they added Stephon Gilmore, who's a hell of a corner. They still have Micah Parsons, they still have
Trayvon. Yeah,
Trayvon Diggs, and they still got Dak, who's I think still a solid. I don't like him a lot, but he's a solid quarterback. Pollard's back; he's a real difference maker. CeeDee Lamb is a difference maker, and Gallup's not bad if he can stay healthy. They basically only lost Dalton Schultz, their tight end, and you could see in our game like he's not a difference maker. He caught a lot of TDs because of all those other guys, garnering attention from the defense, and that left him open. But like, he's not the kind of player you can like give him the ball and ask him to win the game for you at all. So I think the Cowboys are going to be good. We'll see. But I still think we're the class in the NFC, especially if we can sort out quarterback. If,
yeah,
if we
because
can get
I don't
Lance,
think the Vikings are going to be as.
no, their
And
defense is
they
in
had just
shambles.
yeah, and they just had things that ended up falling their way like last year too.
Yeah, they had a lot of one score win victories, and they lost to Darius Smith, they lost Eric Kendricks, they've got Danielle Hunter on the trading block, they lost Alvin Cook. So I still think their offense will be really good. They've got Justin Jefferson, they got Hawkinson, and they got that blanking on the guy, the speeding ticket kid who just got the 140-mile-an-hour speeding ticket, Avery Johnson, something like that. But I do like Cousins. I think Cousins is a really good quarterback. I think he's really underrated. I think a lot of people don't consider the fact that he's barely ever had a defense since he's been on the Vikings. And the one year he did, they won a playoff game in New Orleans. And then, they had the misfortune of running into us, where we had the number 2 D and the number 2 run game. And we needed those to beat them because Jimmy was throwing to Kendricks. He threw
Yeah,
him an
we
interception and threw.
literally like ran the ball so much in the second half. I remember.
Yeah, only 4 pass attempts in the whole second half for Jimmy because he had thrown an interception to Kendricks. Then he threw Kendricks the ball 2 more times, and Kendricks dropped 2 interceptions.
Mm.
He could have easily had 3 in that game. And we just ran it down their throats, and not much Kirk Cousins could do about that. So also, I think Witherspoon got cooked at the beginning, and we put Mosley in, and that helped the corner. That took away some of their opportunities offensively as well. But I think Kirk Cousins is a good QB. I don't want him here on our team, but I can see why Kyle does want him. He never gets injured. He's got a good deep ball. I think if you protect him and give him a good defense and some decent weapons, like I think you can win a lot of games with that guy. I think more than Jimmy G for sure. I know a lot of people like Jimmy G because he does his win, but QB wins are a casual stat, especially when like last year when we had the best group of weapons in the NFL, solid O line, Kyle calling the plays, and the number 1 D. Man, I mean, there's easily 10 quarterbacks you could plug in there, I think, that could do as well as Brock or better. I don't think Brock is a top 10 quarterback. So I really like him. I think he's 12 or 15, somewhere in that range. But we'll see. Rick Diaz in the house. Say hello, my friends. Go Niners. I said the 49ers gold, 49. Go Niners. That's my team. Good and the bad. That's my team. All right. Love it, Rick.
Oh
Our
man,
team
that is
too.
unfortunate for the Saints. They had just signed Trey Turner a few days ago, and now he's
Yeah, the
out for
guard.
the season.
Ooh, with what? Shout out to the faithful.
Uh, Tore his
They gold.
quadriceps.
Ooh.
So,
Yeah, that's a brutal
I don't know if you
injury.
saw Jalen Ramsey too, like the meniscus injury.
Well, torn quad is not that bad as long as it's the quad
Yeah,
muscle. Then he could be back, early season. It's the quad tendon tear that's the killer. That's like ACL, Achilles, patellar tendon. That's like one that can be a career-ending or at least career-altering type of injury. So that when she came back from, and now Jamal Adams from the Seahawks is trying to come back from, and he started camp on the PUP list. So we'll see how that plays out.
yeah.
Um,
But it's good that
Anything can happen.
Wisniewski is back. I know they
Yeah.
got him
He
off.
still wasn't punting yesterday, but at least he was at practice, so that was good.
Yeah.
I think they'll be really careful with the back. You want to be as careful as you can be.
Mhm.
I think they'll just keep doing a rotation. They'll do Wisniewski, Gonzalez, and Moody all punting until Wisniewski's back is really been good and been good for a while. I don't
Yeah.
think they're going to miss that for camp stuff. Anything can happen. Regular season starts. We shall see in September, October, November. Let's take it one day at a time. Let's not get ahead. There you go. But getting ahead and predictions, to me, it's what sets us apart from, I don't know, let's say something like AI. I don't know. I don't know if I told you, but I use AI to help me, come up with titles for shows and the headline analyzer, and run it through there, and then run it through AI and get different ideas, and then pick what I think is the best. But when I was having a Seahawks content creator on, I came up with the title, Have the Seahawks Done Enough to Dethrone the 49ers? And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to ask Bard as one of the ones I use. I use ChatGPT too. I was like, I'm going to ask Bard what Bard thinks if I just ask the question, if it can answer it. And it just said, not enough data, ask an expert. I'm like, yes. So that's something that sets us apart from things like that, is that we're not just regurgitating stats. We're giving the context of why things happen and our opinions of, what it means now and also what it means for the future. And so, yeah, I understand some people want to just sit back and see what happens, but like part of this whole thing is like, it's all about making predictions and seeing if they come true and seeing if you're right. So bear with us, Rick. You're going to probably get a little bit more of that. I hate to tell you. It says some 49ers will be okay. I think we'll be more than okay, but we've been okay for 4 years, or a little bit more than okay. But, a lot of us want number 6.
I haven't
And
seen us win a Super Bowl at all, so I
I'm
definitely gonna
spoiled.
need
I saw all 5,
patience.
and I went to all 5 super parades. But, yeah, I mean, it's been 29 years. I'm ready to see another one. Absolutely. And our window, I'm not going to say it's closing. It looks like it could stay
It's
open for a few more
definitely
years, but you never know. It could be over this year. We may not even make the playoffs this year. We may not make the playoffs for several more years. You just never know with injuries and with players getting older. I'd say it's really unlikely. This squad looks really, really good and really deep, but you just never know. And you got to do it when you have the chance. You can't keep saying like, oh, well, oh, we came close this year, but we'll get it next year, because next year is not,
every year. I
there's no
mean,
promise. There's no guarantees.
we thought we'd get a good amount of people back this year, but we ended up losing a lot of them too. So you never
He
know.
says, who are the Vikings? Nobody. Yeah, I'm not worried about the Vikings. I'm worried about the Lions in the NFC North.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be good. I don't think they're going to go real far in the playoffs, just because they haven't even barely made the playoffs for a while. So I think
and
that'd
they're
be their
just
next step, is to
young too.
make
So
it and maybe win a playoff game. I could see that. Yeah, they're young, and but they got a lot of good stuff cooking there. Their offense was really good last year. They did a lot to bolster their defense. So, and Dan Campbell seems to have those guys fired up, and that's half the battle as well, to have a really good coach. So I'm rooting for the Lions. I also think the Bears might be pretty good. I just am fading the Vikings and I'm fading the Packers
Packers, yeah.
because I don't believe in Jordan Love, and I just don't think they have enough talent on that team to carry him. But maybe I'll prove me wrong. He's a first round draft pick. He's kind of like Lance. I just don't think he has the same ball security. I just haven't seen him do anything in a regular season game that would lead me to believe that he could do something good. But he could prove me wrong too. I guess we'll see. What are your thoughts on the NFC North?
Yeah, I think the Lions are gonna definitely be better and actually a fun team to watch. But in terms of the um, Bears, I mean, I don't think they're gonna be that much better, but I think they are gonna be better because they definitely made some good moves this
Yeah,
year.
they shored up their O line and they got DJ Moore.
Yep.
I always say quarterbacks need at least decent protection and at least reliable
Yeah,
weapons.
I think it
And,
really
and
like it's just a,
I
sorry.
don't think Fields has had. I was gonna say I don't think Fields has
Yeah,
had either of those things.
no,
So I mean, if he has them now, then now
now
it's
I
kind of
see
put up or
will.
shut up time for him. We really need to see a
Yeah,
little bit more from him this year. And also part of it is people go, well, they were last in the league last year. Well, yeah, but they had a bad start and then they shipped off All Pro Roquan Smith, inside linebacker, maybe second or third best linebacker in the NFL after Fred. And, and then they shipped off Robert Quinn, who's probably not the edge he used to be, but he's still a solid player. And they basically were tanking. And
yeah,
so you can't really hold Fields, responsible for losing when your team is almost the opposite. You would be mad at him if he won when you're tanking. So
hmm,
um, I don't hold that record totally against him because of that. I mean, maybe the early season record, but not the late season record. Um, and he did play better in the late season. But you were going to say something.
yeah. I was just gonna say like, yeah, I think it just depends on Justin Fields how he does
Yeah,
now because I
yeah.
definitely say they're improved.
I mean, he's got the accuracy, he's got the wheels. It's can he read the defenses and deliver the ball like on schedule,
Yep.
the way good pocket quarterbacks do. And he doesn't have to be a good quarterback, but he has to be a great quarterback, I think. So, and to not be called a running back, right? Because he is one of the better running QBs. I think him and Lamar right now are the two best running quarterbacks in the NFL. And it might even be in that order. I don't know because he's a lot bigger than Lamar, and he runs with a little more power.
Yeah,
But Lamar's obviously the shiftiest.
yeah.
Nobody has the moves of Lamar for sure.
Justin Fields, I mean, had some really interesting running plays last year.
He did. He's exciting. Rick says maybe you may not agree with what I said, but right now, but that's okay. Absolutely, that's okay, and it's
We're not
okay for
always
me to
gonna
disagree with
agree on
you.
everything.
It's okay for you to disagree with me. In fact, I welcome dissenting opinions. It makes it more interesting. And like, if I am saying something wrong, then you telling me you think it's wrong. Like, I may not listen to you right now, Rick, but like, if Anshul says it and a few other people say it, eventually it starts to trickle in there in my thick skull. And I like finally start to listen and like go, oh, maybe I did have this wrong. And so it helps me to change my opinions ever so glacial pace, but it does happen. So keep doing it. It makes it fun. I mean, if Anshul and I just sat on here and we're just like, oh, you're great, you're great. Oh, I agree with you. Oh, great idea. It's
Yeah,
boring. So it's better. It's
less
better to have some different
disagreement.
ideas. Absolutely. I mean, unless you disagree on everything, then that's fine too. But like, it's just there's no reason to agree just to agree. And I don't care who you're talking to, if it's like a big network person or a player or a coach. We're all just people and we all have ideas, and everyone makes mistakes. Just some of us less than others. That's all. Brian Culp said, did they use anyone to punt yesterday, Ron? Yeah, they used the machine yesterday, and they didn't do many either. It was not a big part of practice,
Yeah, we
so
didn't really.
that'll probably come later. That'll probably come later. I think they're doing initial evaluations, and then once they decide who they want to keep of the wide receivers or whatever, then they'll figure out who can be a punt returner of them. I think that makes sense, but. Um, Rick says it's the offensive line job to protect the quarterback will be okay. If the offensive line protects our quarterback, we'll be
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
no.
McKivitz is a question mark, and so is Burford. Let's be honest. Burford
I mean,
split reps
Burford's
with
jacked
front
up
front
too, so
skull.
I think he
Yeah, no, I mean everything is pointing that he should be as good or better than last year, but you just never know. The
Yeah.
sophomore slump is real for any type of position; it can happen. I'm not saying I think it. I think that Burford will be better, and also if we do need to platoon, I think Feliciano can probably fill the Brunskill role,
Yeah,
and
that
a lot of
was a
people.
great signing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like Feliciano might even be better than Brunskill. So, but you just don't know. Like we know that Burford and Brunskill were a good 1-2 punch at right guard, and it could be that Feliciano is a better guard, but just doesn't like you know what I mean. Doesn't interchange as well, or doesn't fit as well with McKivitz and Brendel, the guys on this right and left.
Hmm.
You know, whatever it is, it just nothing's guaranteed. It sounds good in theory, and we'll see if it comes through in practice. But
Yeah,
yeah,
he
our O
made
line. I mean, we know Trent Williams is good. We know Aaron Banks is pretty solid. Hopefully, he takes another step forward. Brendel's okay, and I guess there's some talk. I saw somebody a while back was saying um, that Feliciano might compete with Brendel for starting center, but I haven't seen anything in
yeah.
practice that
All I
indicates.
all I remember with Feliciano was like, "Oh, I'm gonna come in and take Burford's job or whatever," but I don't see that happening.
I don't see that happening at all. No, I mean
Yeah,
Burford
I
is
actually
what a
made a
story
really
he's
hot
been.
take when I was doing
I mean,
this.
you know, if you're starting as a rookie on this team, you're doing something right. And I mean, even if it's a half a start, right, with a platoon start, that's
Yeah,
still really impressive.
I mean, and he's been with Trent Williams working out in the off season back to back
That's
years. So,
right. That's right. He was just on East Coast Red and
yeah,
Gold with Jess and all them, and I guess he's Terradome's nephew or something like that. Terradome's cousin is Burford's dad or something. I thought that was what I heard. I don't know. I maybe I need to rewatch the episode better. But Terradome was on there that episode, and it definitely seemed like he was family. And I think that's how they got him because, um, and it's hard to get current players, especially in season or this close to
yeah.
season, on podcasts. I mean, some of them will do it on the off season, but that's unusual. So hats off to Jess and East Coast Red and Gold. They do great work over there. So
Yeah, real
Brian
quick, I
says he
just wanted to
agrees.
say that I actually made a really hot take with the show that I did with Brandon a few days back. I was saying that I think Spencer Burford's gonna be the new Aaron Donald father.
Yeah, I mean that's the right position for it. I mean, and the good news is like, I mean, it came up because there were a couple of reports about Stetson Bennett looking good in camp. One was like that rookie watch account or whatever it's called, rookie report, something like that. And the other one was NFL rumors, which is a little bit bigger of an account.
Yeah,
Um, and they were both talking about, and I was like, besides AD, who do they got on defense? They lost Bobby Wagner, they lost Ramsey, they lost Leonard Floyd. Like that
they
Rams
lost that
defense.
Robinson guy too.
Uh,
Remember his first name, but
Allen Robinson, the wide receiver.
yeah, but then there's also I think a defensive tackle.
Oh, they lost. Yeah, A. Sean Robinson. They
Yeah,
lost. Yes, two A. Here, I've got it. I have a banner for it. Um, I just haven't used these in a while, so I
oh, and
forgot
of
I even
course
had them.
Jim Everett, the greats in here.
Oh, good. Well, yeah. So Ramsey, Wagner, Nick Scott, Taylor Rapp, Greg Gaines, Leonard Floyd, Allen Robinson, A. Sean Robinson, and they add Demarcus Robinson. They got Sony Michelle back, which is kind of interesting because they all told me, "Oh, we won't miss Sony Michelle," but they didn't miss him so much that they got him back. Wow, go figure. So Terradome cousin is an agent, I think. Okay. I knew there was a connection to Terradome's cousin. I thought Burford was related to the cousin, but he's maybe Burford's agent or knows Burford's agent or who knows. Okay, so there's the connection, folks. Thanks for clearing it up, Brian. I appreciate it. At least someone was paying attention. Clearly, I missed that part or that piece of it. I did watch it twice, and like I watched, like sometimes you watch and then you get interrupted and you go back, and maybe I didn't go far enough back to where I caught that part, or maybe I was tweeting. Who knows? Attention span is like a gnat. So what are you gonna do? He's saying East Coast red and gold. He's giving the pineapple emojis. We all know that means fire for Bryant Culp ever since the Kittle revealing Kittle video.
Ever
Um,
since then, I've seen Brian Culp use it in every single stream, and like he puts
I've
it
been
in the
using it
chat.
some too. Sometimes I'll do half and half. I'll do like two pineapples and two fires for folks if there's two people I'm talking to or whatever. Just so because I don't want to have to explain it or whatever, or they may not
Yeah.
know the inside joke. So Rick says, "Thank you, I appreciate it." Yeah, absolutely. Dissent away. Just keep it respectful.
Yep.
And even if you get a little disrespectful with me from time to time, I can probably handle that pretty thick skin. I always say you have to pretty much try to piss me off, and even then, a lot of times I can resist, just because I know people do it. A lot of times they do it when they lose arguments, then they go personal. I'm like, oh, then it doesn't bother me at that point because it just means I won the argument. That's all. It's just like waving the white flag. Jim Everett the Great says Purdy struggles in camp. Jimmy G shines in Vegas camp. Concern and trouble. No, because it's the same thing. Jim Everett the Great. Raiders D sucks. Rams D sucks. Niners D
I also made a
numero
prediction.
uno.
Jimmy G's gonna throw 5 picks in practice. Do you
Also,
face it?
also, yeah. I mean, he'll throw a couple to Fred Warner. That's for sure. Also, Jim Everett the Great. CMC and Kittle have barely practiced. So I tweeted that out. Because it's like those two guys are huge difference makers. They're both top three at their position conservatively. I mean, I'm going to say they're best at their position, but
Yeah.
people argue, I'll say top three. No one's going to argue that. And it's not just that, it's the step down. And we talked about that earlier in the show. You probably weren't here yet, but Ross Dwelly, Charlie Warner, Tyler Croft, those guys are scrubs. Let's be honest. That's why we drafted two tight ends, Braden Willis and Cameron Latu. And, on the running backs, Elijah Mitchell's a hell of a back, but he's always injured.
Yeah.
And Jordan Mason was a rookie last year. TDP was a rookie who underwhelmed. Jeff Wilson Jr. was all right, but, we traded him when we only got a 5th round pick for him. How good is that? That's not that good. So it's not just how good those guys are; it's how bad the guys are behind them, and that still
Hey, it
holds
might
true.
be good for us
I was
though,
there.
because
I was
we're
there at
money
camp, Jim
round
Everett
in
the
the first
Great,
round.
and I'm gonna tell you, I had somebody say, "Well, defense always starts, faster than offense." I'm like, dude, our offense is just getting no separation, so our weapons are not getting separation. So we need CMC and George back, sort of, but I also don't want to risk them. So I get it's smart what we're doing, but it's also smart to consider that when you hear our QBs are struggling, know that we have the best D and such a deep defense too. It's not just the first string defense; it's the second string and the third string. And our offense, we got these killer weapons, but like behind that first level of best weapons in the NFL, there's not much behind it. So the second and third string guys are really not working with a lot of talent, unfortunately, to help get open and make catches. Sacktown Izzy, welcome. Izzy popped into a stream the other day, and I was just wrapping up. I don't think I got to read. I think that's a gal, but his or her comment. So let's not talk about the weak lambs. Yeah, they're. I mean, they're probably a little stronger than the Cards, but that's basically stronger than tanking. I think for the Rams, I'll say one last thing about them, which is in 2022 they kept saying run it back, run it back. I just think they were a year off. I think they're going to run it back this year with 5-12. Yo, there you go.
Yeah.
Enjoy. See ya at Levi's South week 2, baby. It's going to be fun. Rams have retooled. Nah, Rams are just tools. Sorry. But we'll see. I mean, I guess you guys had a good draft. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't count on rookies to do much. And if you are, 50% of the time they bust. And even the ones that don't bust, half of them take a while to come to fruition. So, at least half. So, this is a 49er channel. Absolutely. 49ers. Some Warriors. That's why I got the sign up here. And that's why I called it TED Talks Ball and not TED Talks Niners or TED Talks Football. I wanted to keep it open. Maybe some Giants and baseball, maybe some soccer, whatever's going on. I guess while we are talking about other sports, did you have any opinions on Bronny and his collapse, his cardiac arrest?
Yeah, I mean, nothing crazy, but it's good to see that he's at least doing better. It's really unfortunate. I mean, and he's so young too.
Yeah.
But I'm just hoping that he's doing all right and
Yeah,
then
me
able to
too.
get back onto the court.
Me too. I had Dr. Jesse Morse on the other night, and it was the day that news broke, and he said, there needs to be an investigation. We need to find out what happened, and get to the bottom of all this. And a lot of people in the comments were putting syringe emojis in the comments, and I think they were alluding to maybe like that it was like due to COVID vaccination, but we don't even know if Bronny's been vaccinated.
Yeah.
Um, and then I asked him, and he said, myocarditis or whatever the you know uh, uh, diagnosis was could be caused by a virus. So I said, oh well, it could if it may not be vaccine, it might be actual COVID itself. He's like, yeah, that could happen. And I said, when I saw it, I also thought of some other, I thought vaccine at first with the syringe, and I thought other syringes like, speed or HGH. And he said both unlikely causes, but possible. He said when you're at that level, you have access to everything. And so, anyway, I just hope he has a speedy recovery. I hope he's able to play. And if he is able to play, that this never happens to him again. It's always tragic when you see young people with serious conditions like a cardiac arrest. So, knock on wood. We'll prayers up for young Bronny. I hope he's all right. Let's see here. We got Brandon Ferrigno in the house. We were just talking about you earlier, Brandon. Anshul was saying that he was on with you Wednesday night. Great show. So thanks for coming to join. We appreciate it. And Sacktown Izzy, glad you made it. Ted always has great guests. Absolutely. That's the whole trick. It's like guests are like my Kyle Shanahan calling the plays, and my audience members are like our, top of the league weapons and top of the league D, and I'm just like Jimmy G getting carried, Jimmy luggage, carried by greatness. It's a wonderful place to be. Although it's a heavy load. I gotta warn you. You saw those pictures from camp. They say the camera ends 10 pounds. I think it added 10 times 10 pounds to me, but what are you gonna do? Everybody's just saying, hey, Jim Everett the Great. He also said something about Sack fears the Rams. Nobody fears the Rams, man. Rams should fear the Rams. Many basketball players are collapsed on the court, blame the vaccine. Could you say conspiracy? I mean, ultimately, they rushed the vaccine out and they weren't able to give it full testing. So it's possible that the vaccine could be having troubles. I hate to hear that because I think I had 2 or 3 boosters in addition to the initial one. But ultimately, I just trust doctors and scientists more than people doing research on Google. So I know that this vaccine saved a ton of lives, because when people were dying left and right and filling up the ICUs at hospitals, most of those people were unvaxxed, and so that's just Also, I know when my wife and I both caught it at the same time, she had meant to get her vax and missed her appointment or had a cold, or something kept her from doing it, and we got COVID together. And I had been vaccinated, she hadn't, and like I had 4 days of sniffles, literally, and she had like 10 days fever, sore throat, wiped out, like all the symptoms 10 days. So and it's a small sample size, so it's hard to draw too much from it, but I can just tell you in our personal experiences, I was thinking she was probably wishing she had the vaccine for sure. Brandon says, what's up, Bryant? We got McNiner saying Lamb's relying on rookies. Nobody knows if any of them are going to pan out. Yeah. And, they need so much help on that O-line. I mean, it's basically like Stafford and Kupp on the offense. And then they're saying, oh, it's going to be Stetson Bennett. Like, come on, you're not expecting a rookie.
Line was so bad last year. And yes, I get that they got a rookie, but he's a rookie.
Yeah. And some of it was injuries. I get it. They got Brian Allen back. And, but, I don't know, left tackle seems like an issue, unless that's what they drafted. I don't think they did. The guy that they kept telling us was going to be fine to replace Whitworth totally fell on his ass. So, I forgot his name now, but Noteboom, Joe Noteboom. That is it. You got it. So yeah, and Stetson Bennett, like I call him Drunk Purdy, because they think he's the next Brock Purdy, but he had the alcohol issues in college. And the guy's like, what is he, like 26 or something? He's a
Yeah.
little old to be a rookie. So he should be good if he's that old. For Christ's sakes, it's like what he go through the first grade 3 times or something. I don't know. Mick and Ernie RMs laying the smackdown again. Oh man, it's gonna be fun in Levi's South. Even if we lose to the Steelers week 1, we know we'll be 1-1 week 2, so that's good because we will sweep the Rams in 2023, and we'll make it 3-0 if you guys somehow make the playoffs. But as I always say, don't bet your rent money on the Rams doing that. Staying high on Brandon. Yes, sir. What's up? Jim Everett, the mid. We haven't lost a regular season game to the England Rams since last decade. Yeah, we have had, we are 4 seasons in a row of sweeps. So that counts 2019, 2020, 21, and 22. Yeah.
Didn't we also sweep them the year that we were like bad, like the first year?
We swept them in 2016, and that's why we didn't have our 20.
I thought we also swept them.
I know
the
we beat
year.
the Rams at the end of 2018, and that's why we didn't have the number 1 overall pick, and we needed Bosa to fall to us. It was like the Rams were like, "Oh, well, screw the Niners by letting them win and not let them have the first overall pick." I'm pretty sure the last game of the season in 2018 was the Rams, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Ted actually, Jimmy G carried Kyle Shanahan. Look at Kyle's record without Jimmy G. Now, because Kyle's record without Jimmy G was with Hoyer, CJ Beathard,
Nick
Mullins. None of those guys are starters here, and all those guys are starters anywhere else. So if any of them were lighting it up somewhere else, you might have an argument. But those guys are not starting level quarterbacks. Also, a lot of the games that Jimmy missed, Nick Bosa missed. What do you know? Or he wasn't on the team. And so he missed those. Or the ones when he was on the team, he was injured in 2020. So, yeah, no. And now Kyle's record's a lot better now that
Purdy.
now that Purdy just went 8-0, when Jimmy got injured. So, yeah.
When do you think when do you predict that Bosa you think will get extended?
John Chapman thought today, but I guess we'll see. See.
Pads go on when's next week or is it the week after?
I think it might be. I think it might be early next week. The 5th practice usually. So
Okay,
let's see.
yeah,
We've gone
so
through 2. Today's the 3rd. Yeah, I think Monday or Tuesday would be.
Okay, so yeah, I think because it
pads
was similar to last year with Debo, so I think that's what's gonna happen. I think we can hear something probably this weekend
once the
or
pads
Monday
going
or something. Yeah,
makes sense. There's a rumor. Imagine if we won Super Bowl versus KC, we had a parade, everyone would have gotten sick. Yeah, I think there were a few cases in the Bay Area, but honestly, I don't think it would have been that bad. I think it was still, it hadn't reached a critical mass to where people, I don't think it would have been that bad, honestly. I think I did the math on it, and it was something like there were like 10 in the Bay Area, and they would, and out of 8 million, maybe 1 million come to the parade. So maybe 2 or 3 of them are there. How many? Yeah. It's not as big a deal as what people are making out of it, in my opinion. But I'm, again, not a doctor. I just have some close doctor relatives. Stetson Bennett better than all 3 49ers games. Matthew Dunn, Stafford with the 35 to 40 TDs. Well, who cares if Stetson Bennett's better if he doesn't play? It doesn't make any difference. And Stafford, good luck if he plays the whole season. But I will say good luck to his wife. I heard her cancer's back. And on a serious note, nobody would ever root for that. So I hope Kelly is okay. Sunday pads, I think. Oh, Sunday. Wow, that's cool.
Because I think I usually remember it being like that Monday or Tuesday. Yeah.
I thought Monday. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Just got to go. Joe Burrow. It's just a calf strain. Yeah, that is good. I was really worried about Joe Burrow when I saw he was reporting to camp without a contract. I'm just like, what are you doing, man? Think if it was his Achilles, he would have just cost himself millions to, probably not hundreds of millions. I'm sure they still would have gotten him a good deal, but
Yeah.
not top of the market. I mean, they weren't not like 265 million or whatever we're thinking it's going to be, because I think it'll be more than Herbert. I think most people think it'll be more than Herbert.
Oh yeah.
That's why they
For
were
sure.
waiting till the end. They had to see where the chips fell and then
Yeah. Where's
put
the
him at
market
least a
at?
nudge above, right? People were getting sick in December at my job, but again, everyone is better now. December, huh? My son was born January 23rd of 2020, and it was that week was the first diagnosed cases of COVID in the US. So if your people were getting sick in December, then they weren't diagnosed. It wasn't confirmed as COVID in December.
Yeah.
But maybe it was. I mean, I'm sure it could have easily been here before we knew it. So I'm not saying that's not true, Brian. I'm just saying from the math I did, I just remember thinking it was like not a ton of people would have probably been there at the parade. And also, like, if you got it, you're probably sick. You're probably not going to the parade either, right? But whatever. I mean, there are some people that are asymptomatic or didn't have a lot of symptoms that might be spread or super spreaders. Baxted, Jai needs the bag first before he steps back on the field. Joe Burrow. Yeah, no, they gotta get that sorted out. And it sounds like he's out for the whole preseason, so clearly it'll be done by the time he goes
Yeah.
back. Good quarterback, good team. They're coming here to play us at Levi's, so that's one of the games I'm thinking of attending this season if I can. I've always wanted to see him play. Hell of a QB. Great weapons, probably the best wide receiver group in the NFL, but just not the best weapons because we got Kittle and CMC and Juice and all those guys. My coworkers were hospitalized in January. Okay. All right.
Do we play the Bengals in preseason? I don't think so.
And that's out near Stockton, you're saying, right, Bryant? So you would think it would hit the Bay Area first, but I guess you just never know how it pops up, or one person goes there and spreads to a bunch of people. And interesting. Jim Everett, the mid highlights. There aren't many. Ew. They didn't know what it was. They just kept saying it was the flu. Yeah, I mean that's what a lot of people thought at first.
Yeah,
I
there
get it.
just wasn't that much information about it.
But
So.
but there was that cruise ship, wasn't there, that got stuck in Japan. So we knew it was coming. I mean, it was just a matter of time before it got here. They were just doing everything they could, and they brought. Oh, and maybe in Stockton. I wonder. I doubt it. I was gonna say wasn't there like a quarantine at the Air Force Base in Fairfield. I forget the name of it. But I'm pretty sure there was a big quarantine set up there. So maybe but I'm sure people wouldn't have gotten loose from there either. That's Stockton. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. But who knows? I said carpool with them for 3 weeks. We worked in Livermore. Interesting. So maybe it did come from the Bear. But yeah, I think we've been going for a while here, almost an hour and a half. Anything you want to go over, Anshul, while we're here? Like any final thoughts, predictions?
No, I mean, I'm just glad the football season's coming around pretty quickly. Feels like this off season really sped through, and man, it was just one dead of an off season in terms of just news. So I'm really glad that we're back, and let's just pray for a pretty healthy, mostly healthy season and training camp. So
Sounds good. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And I'll just say peace and go Niners.
go Niners.